Have you ever started a project around the house only to realize that you're in way over your head? Over the last 7 years, I've been involved in a house flip, multiple remodels to rental units, and tons of DIY projects. So I know how frustrating it can be to pay top dollar for simple tasks that you could do yourself, but I also know how stressful it is when you bite off way more than you can chew.
This is more than I expected.
So my goal with this video is to share what projects I have found to be easy enough to DIY yourself in terms of common upgrades, and then we're going to talk about when to call in the professional. With that said, guys, I am not a professional contractor, inspector, or anything close to that. This is just my opinion as somebody who has been there and done that, as they say. For starters, let's talk about what kinds of upgrades you might be looking to do in the first place. Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group did an article on the 8 updates your home needs every 10 years, so let's go ahead and grab a few from this list. Let's look at 4 of these that are pretty common and things that I've had plenty of experience with myself. We're going to take a look at painting, re-caulking, redoing carpeting, and then refreshing your landscaping. So let's take it one at a time here, starting off with painting. And real quick, guys, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. The decision of whether or not to DIY a paint project is usually complicated because it comes down to what you're actually painting. As I'm sure you can imagine, painting a vaulted ceiling is going to be a lot more complicated than putting a fresh coat of exterior paint on a fence or shed. I'm one of those impatient DIYers who usually takes care of the demo work and then I hire somebody else for the finish work, but last year I put my painting skills to the test. I did the walls and ceiling of my new office, and while it's far from perfect, I am very proud of the fact that I did it myself. What a lot of people don't realize is just how cheap painting can be when you DIY, because the paint itself is not usually that expensive. Instead, it's the labor cost that's usually significant. You might spend $50 on a bucket of paint, but $500 on someone to paint for the day. If you're doing this yourself, go out and get the right tools for the job. So I'd recommend good quality rollers, plastic tub with liners, drop cloths, and a good brush to do the precise edges. And then I would recommend starting off with something very small, like a closet or a bathroom. If you master the skill of painting or even just become proficient at it, this can literally save you thousands of dollars in the long run. For example, when I had one of my apartments turn over last year, I was able to freshen up all of the paint at a virtual $0 cost because of the fact that I did it myself and had all the paint in the basement. So if you're thinking about getting into the rental business, guys, it's a really good idea to learn how to paint. This next project often goes hand in hand with painting, and that's going to be re-caulking. No, you don't need to repaint every time you redo the caulk, but you really should redo the caulk every time you are repainting. That's because when you freshen up the walls and potentially the ceiling to pristine condition, well, all of a sudden that old and potentially yellowed caulk becomes a major eyesore. So what I recommend doing is combining your paint project with a caulk job. What you'll do in most cases is use a utility knife or some kind of scraper to get the old caulk out first, and then when you paint, you'll be able to get your paint all the way down to the bottom edge of the wall. And finally, that clean line of caulk will really put your paint job over the top. Just make sure you look into where you're supposed to caulk and don't start putting it on every random seam that you're seeing. Similar to painting, when you hire this out, most of what you're paying for is the labor because all that's required for material here is your caulk, the caulk gun, and some damp rags usually. A standard ratcheting caulk gun is under $10 most places, and while the price of the caulk is going to vary based on what type you need, depending on location, it can often be around the same price. So for about $20, this is a huge upgrade to your paint project, and it doesn't take a lot of extra effort. I'm telling you guys, something as simple as just filling up those little cracks in your baseboard and other trim is going to make this look so much better in the end. So far, we've covered 2 popular home upgrades that you can probably DIY, but now we're going to talk about a popular upgrade that you should probably not be doing on your own. And if you've enjoyed this list so far, be sure to subscribe for more. Carpeting is probably something that should be left to the professionals, with the rare exception being the installation of carpet tiles. These are actually an adhesive carpet product with a peel and stick backing, and I've actually used them for some niche applications like this very recording studio. But carpeting in general is a very tough job that requires a lot of knowledge, skills, and specialized tools. From the seaming iron to the knee kicker, these are not tools that you're just going to have sitting around in your garage. However, for you DIYers out there, I would recommend ditching the carpet altogether and going to click-together leather flooring. My favorite kind is LVP or luxury vinyl plank, and I've literally installed hundreds of boxes of this now across my rental properties and even my own house. I've had contractors install a lot of this flooring, but I've also done multiple rooms myself, so you can DIY this. You can score the planks with a knife and snap them so you don't need a saw. So aside from some hand tools that you might require, all you really need here is a knee pad to get this job done. And finally, we have my absolute favorite project to DIY, and that's going to be landscaping. Aside from complicated projects like retaining walls and advanced hardscaping, most landscaping projects, even the ones involving stone, can be done yourself. Whether it's installing a paver pathway, cutting out sod for a garden bed, edging, or whatever it might be, you can absolutely do these on your own. Last year, for example, I decided to turn a tired section of my yard into an outdoor fire pit area. I had to remove the existing plants, roots, and grass, level the area, put down landscaping fabric, and then put down the bags of crushed stone. Then I put the fire pit in, which came as a kit, and I simply moved it one stone at a time. For all of these projects, I just did a little bit of research beforehand to make sure that I knew what I was doing, and I always followed recommendations like putting paver base underneath my fire pit so it doesn't settle. So I would suggest doing the exact same thing. Tap into that massive library of free content out there of all the people who have done it before you, and if it looks too complicated, it probably is, so you might want to call the pro. But most importantly, what do you think about this? Do you agree or disagree with my do's and don'ts? Let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to know what projects you guys have tackled yourself and which ones you have left to the pros. And one final bonus one here for you guys is going to be any type of tree trimming and tree removal. I think you should always leave that one to the pros, with the rare exception being trimming small branches with a pole saw. If you're interested in more, check out this next video that we think you'll love, and we'll see you next time.